Hi guys! Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be reacting to Vikings. Disclaimer, I've kind of seen this show before-ish. Not the entire thing, and not even one episode from start to finish, I think. Also, I just want to know, I'm not a weapons expert. I don't know that much about actual physical fighting and gear, so I won't be able to comment too much on that stuff, but it's more the overall way the Viking Age is presented, themes, cultural habits, traits, that kind of stuff. Wanted to let you guys know that I can't really say, oh, well, that's definitely a wrong sword for the Viking Age. Well, maybe I can in some cases. I don't know. We'll see. Let's get into it. It's dramatic. I like it. Oop, ravens. Yep, Norse mythology. Here we go. For those of you who don't know, the symbol of Odin, basically the king god of Norse mythology, is two ravens. Yep, what'd I say? Ravens, Odin. I like the themes that they're playing with here so far. I mean, this is really cool too. I like this. They're showing that what I presume is the mom and the daughter are fishing, and the dad and the son are fighting. Not because it's split between the genders, but because the kids are doing adult work tasks. I like the amount of pelts.
As always, to the Baltic.
Oh my goodness. I remember now why I stopped watching this show. They've decided that the actors should go for this quasi-Scandinavian-ish accent. Yeah, it's just I don't get the accent. Well, I guess I kind of get the accent. They're not supposed to be super American, not supposed to be super British. I guess it's Scandinavian Norse. I mean, we don't really know what Norse sounded like. The spoken language today that is closest to Norse is Icelandic, but I don't know. It's really off-putting to me as a Norwegian speaker. It sounds so weird because it's not consistent, in any of them. But anyway, that's a Scandinavian thing. It's not an archaeological thing, so whatever.
Very good, Tequita.
Alright, stupid comment. Kind of. But considering how old the daughter is, she would probably know this by now. So I get telling the audience that the mom is teaching the girl how to weave, and I mean, that's totally legit. Yep. And the weave, as far as I know, it looks pretty good too. Yeah, I have colleagues who are much better at this than I am, but I can't see any faults with the actual weave, though we haven't seen that much of it yet. But seeing as this girl is what, I don't know, 10, 11 maybe, she would know this already, I'm pretty sure.
You woman.
You couldn't kill me if you tried for 100 years.
One thing that I really appreciate with this scene so far is that she is not surprised, at all. It's a very subtle reference to what the society could have been like at the time. As far as we can tell, it was a really violent culture, and stuff like what's happening right now probably happened, I'd say, a lot. So I like this kind of subtle explanation or kind of nod to what the society was like, in the way that she's not even surprised. She's just kind of okay, this is happening, let's get the kid out of the house, and I'll defend my home and my family.
I killed the bear with my spear.
Storytelling, big part of the culture as far as we can tell. Yeah, I like it. This arm ring thing, I'm very unsure, because the dad just said, are you ready to receive your arm ring and become a man? I'm very unsure about whether or not that was actually a tradition. It should be noted that we do find a lot of arm rings in a lot of Viking Age graves, so they might have kind of taken that piece of information and made something, kind of a tradition in the show, which is, I mean, that's kind of cool. What I am interested in seeing, though, is that so far, the colors have been... It's very drab, it's very browns and beige, neutral colors. Okay, the daughter had a red dress, and these aren't necessarily super rich or wealthy people. They do have a farm, so I mean, it's pretty good. But it seems from the archaeological material that we have left, and we don't have that many examples of textiles, it should be noted, but from what we can tell, they loved color. So they would dye stuff. Reds and yellows and different hues of blue. Man, I mean, the colors... Still pretty drab, man. I like the amount of pelts and stuff. Are they in a tavern? Oh no. Yeah, it does not seem like taverns were a thing in the Viking Age. That's That's a Middle
That's why we
Ages
should stay
kind of
west.
thing. I have all these genius ideas. Like, there's always that one guy in these historical fiction-based series. I kind of love it that they're, like, the ones pushing technological innovation to a point. Okay, we got some reds. Cool. Still a lot of beige and brown, though. Oh, there we got some yellows. That's cool.
You murdered my brother in cold blood.
It's not true.
I don't know
We argued about some disputed land.
whether or not
He pulled
the
out a
way that they
knife.
present
You
the laws
wanted
here
that
is
land for
completely
yourself.
accurate from what we
You're a
know,
liar.
but it sounds
And a coward.
it sounds legit
Who says
to my
I'm a
ears.
coward? I'm not a coward.
Even if these weren't like the specific Viking Age laws, they could have been. Peer pressure. This also does seem legit to me. This is the kind of stuff we don't necessarily know that much about specifically, other than from written sources that were written down later. I like that they're showing that the guy is kind of teaching the son, even though the son doesn't necessarily have a natural inclination to throw a cabbage or whatever they're throwing at the guy, or raise his hand at the thing. But this is the way they do stuff, so you have to do it too. But they're kind of teaching him about the way things work in the kind of inducted adults world. I wonder whether or not they're gonna mention Hel later in this, not necessarily this episode, but the series, because Valhalla wasn't the only place you could go if you died. There were, as far as my knowledge, at least 3 places. You have Valhalla, which is the most known today, which is Odin's Hall. And then you have Folkvanger, which is where Freya lives. She also took her share of warriors. And then you have Hel, which is, as far as I can tell, like the most common, where most people went. As far as I know. Again, I don't know every detail by heart, but, you know, broad lines.
He told me he wanted that land for himself. He knew Tryggvason had the best claim to it, but refused to sell it.
You hear that, boy?
This sounds legit
is
to
how
me, that
things are done
there are
around.
intrigues about territories and land disputes. There was a lot of shady stuff going on. That is not a sharp sword. I hope it's not supposed to be. Oh no, they're eating off of it. Maybe not. I have to look up
Any
the
oath
stuff
that
about
you
the
swear
arm
on
rings.
these rings
I am very
must be honored
unsure.
and kept.
But
Do you
it looks
understand
very
whose word it
legit.
is?
One thing that I like too is how many different hairstyles there are. That's pretty cool, because it kind of gets the individualism through, which I approve of. Again, I don't have any archaeological basis of saying that, but I mean, people were individuals in the Viking Age too, just as today. Oh! That's a fun detail. That's a very fun detail, because they didn't use knife and fork the way we do today. So I love that they just showed him. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but right here, he uses his fingers and his knife. And we have a lot of like scissors and like smaller scissors and smaller knives that appear especially in grave material from the Viking Age. So it seems like you use the knife to kind of get meat off of bones and stuff, and kind of cut things up, but you didn't have a fork the way we do today. So that's a nice detail. I like it. I like it. Love the animal art behind him. Love it. There's a lot of power play going on here right now. And power play, we know from the sagas and stuff. There were a lot of power play involved in Viking Age politics, it seems. So this guy, like for example, this guy doesn't have a Scandinavian, like his quasi-Scandinavian accent. What's up with that? Is it because he's nobility or whatever? Which is not a Viking Age thing. They didn't have nobility. They had elites. But
I don't trust him.
ah, crap.
I'm more interested in
This bothers me so much. And I don't necessarily have that much material, like archaeological material, to back this up. But the fact that the person who communicates with the gods, call them priests or wizards or priestesses or vulva, which is a Norse term for like a combination of a priestess, witch-ish, that they have to be like scarred and deformed and stuff. We do know that that is something that appears in cultures, that if you were deformed, especially from birth, either you weren't worth squat, Or maybe that implied that the gods had something in store for you, that you were special or you could communicate with them. To me, this gives a weird kind of vibe. Okay, let's just watch and pause when you see this person's face. Okay, you see that? Okay, on one hand, you could argue that the Viking Age society was extremely different from what any of, especially our Western cultures or anything, is today. So it's hard for us sometimes to understand why they did stuff the way that they did, or what their motivation was, or reasonings and stuff like that, and kind of get under the skin, kind of understanding the essence of the culture. But the reason this bothers me with this person is that this gives me a fantasy vibe. Nothing bad against fantasy, I love fantasy. But even though they've kind of set Ragnar so far up as kind of like, okay, he definitely has like some sort of connection to Odin. He sees stuff apparently that other people don't see. That it's kind of in tow with Norse mythology, but just the appearance of this person looking the way that they do. And I mean, other archaeologists might actually disagree with me on this, and that's totally fine. But it breaks my suspension of disbelief, because what it does to me, as especially like a person who has worked with this quite a lot, is that so far this show has been pretty good at smaller details. I mean, we've talked about some of them, and even though I'm annoyed at the lack of colors and fabrics and stuff, I'm actually positively surprised at this point. But this does not seem to me to be a representation or even a saturation, meaning like a type of person but amped up, that you had in the Viking Age. This seems to me that's something you pulled out of a fairy tale. So right now, I'm not buying that this is a take on the actual Viking Age, if you understand what I mean. If you disagree with me on that, that's totally fine. Hi guys, this is ArkeoMags from the future, from editing to be specific. I just wanted to throw it out there pretty quickly that right after I finished wrapping and started editing this video, a really great archaeological researcher by the name of Leszek Gardela, who's a postdoc at the National Museum of Denmark, he just released an article where he analyzes this character. And he provides evidence for at least inspirations of this character from Norse written sources and the archaeological material that we have available. So even though I haven't been able to go through the article point by point yet, I've just lightly skimmed it at this point, but it seems like a really good article, and he seems to touch on a lot of the issues that I have, although it should be noted that he also does mention that the physical appearance of this character most likely is heavily based on creative choices by the production team of the series. And that is mainly my issue here, but at the same time, this article is really interesting and it seems really in-depth, and I've provided a link for you guys in the description if you want to go check it out. It's open source, so you don't have to access it through any paywalls, so if you think this sounds interesting, then I really recommend that you check it out. Okay, back to the video.
I can tell which trees will make the best planks just by looking at them. I can look inside the tree.
Floki is a boat builder, among other things.
This is pretty cool, yeah, because the Vikings were exceptional boat and ship builders, and they didn't write much down, and basically at all. So all of this was kind of spoken, known knowledge, and we assume that they could tell just by looking at a tree whether or not that would be suitable. And also we believe that they would have maybe shaped some trees.
I will find them.
You can see that?
Also, I love using the axe. Great.
I'm joking?
It's awesome. They didn't have saws yet. They only had axes. And the axes didn't necessarily need to be that big. The size of that axe is a good size.
Do you imagine ships are just dead things?
So, what about
I love this. I actually love this little bit. Not to get too personal, but just the little thing that he said right there. Do you believe ships are just dead things? Because that's actually one of the themes in my master's thesis, where I talk about that most likely there was this concept that ships weren't just tools or vehicles, but in and of themselves had meaning, almost like personalities maybe. I've actually written an article about just that based on my master's thesis. It's in Norwegian, but it's still there, so there's a link in the description if you want to check it out.
This means the boat won't butt against the waves like a goat, but move over them like a ripple.
oh man,
The hell is
considering
different?
how
All my
much
men
I've
said
talked
there
about
was.
Viking ships
Captain
and
went
worked
to the
with them
ship's
and
wreck.
written about them,
Reports
I
can be
should
closed when the
know
boat's
whether or
at
not
sea.
this is a
Do you think you
legit
could handle
thing.
long sea voyages?
Considering
why
the
I'm
amount of
building it.
detail they've put into this dialogue, I am assuming that what he's saying now is
But
actually
will it be strong enough?
legit.
We won't know that until we try.
But I'm kind of scared to say definitely. But yeah, I mean this outline of
When
the
will it
ship
be
is
ready?
pretty good. Yeah.
You have to pay for the sail and then the anchor. You know what those blacksmiths are like.
So Floki says we're out of money, and now, as far as I can tell, Ragnar just handed him a pouch of coins. The Vikings did not have a monetary system. I understand why they're doing it, so I'm not like annoyed at them doing this in the show. I mean, they could have done it differently, but just for like the ease of it, I suppose. Many other places, most of the places in Europe at this point had like coin, actual physical money. But as far as we can tell, especially since this is kind of setting up what I assume is the raid of Lindisfarne, which was in 793. At this point, there are not that many like coins in Scandinavia yet. They do kind of start using it towards the end of the Viking Age, but this is not representational of that. If that's what they're going for, the late 700s, that's not representational. As far as we can tell, they were a barter type society. But yeah, Vikings, fun fact, did not have hard coin. They did not have a monetary system.
Where are your parents?
They're having sex.
I appreciate this. The kid knows exactly what's going on. I mean, it's probably realistic too. I mean, they didn't have different bedrooms, and they probably, you know, why shouldn't the kid know what's going on? Now, I don't necessarily have any basis to say this, but the thing that just happened, the mom's sending the kids to bed. It seems weird to me that Viking Age kids would have bedtimes. I think they just stayed up with the adults, and then maybe if they were annoying, they were put to bed. I don't know. But also that like mom is the one that's like, off to bed you go, and the dad's like, oh no, let them stay. That seems like a very modern concept that's been put into a show about the Viking Age to me. Again, just my 2 cents. If you disagree, then let me know in the comments why you disagree. There we go with the ravens again. Odin. I have a feeling too with this heterochromia, the fact that his eyes are different colors, that they're setting him up as kind of an Odin thing too, that he's gonna lose one of his eyes or something, because Odin did sacrifice one of his eyes.
It made me certain we're doing the right thing.
He's talking about signs and omens and stuff, and I mean that's legit. They did interpret things they saw and experience as kind of indications of what could or would happen. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, those carvings on the ship were pretty cool, because they're actually almost direct copies of the Oseberg ship from the little I could tell. And the Oseberg ship, fun fact, is the only preserved Viking Age ship that's ever been discovered with actual carvings. 2 people rowing that ship, and I'm not a ship expert, but that seems like
You think? No, she bloody won't.
that seems like a bit of an ambitious thing to do. This, I mean, Viking ships were known to be light, but they're still heavy. What do you know? It works. It looks good. So yeah, as far as I can tell, this is like a merge of the Oseberg and Goksta ships. I'm pleasantly surprised, I have to admit. I thought I was going to be annoyed at a lot more stuff. I mean, this is only the pilot, this is only the introductory episode, but so far it's okay, it's decent. It's good, and they didn't stumble or make non-informed decisions that much. It seems to me that stuff they have been done with a very specific reason. I can't get over the colors, guys. This is gonna bug me if I keep doing these reaction videos. It's going to bug me. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. This was actually an enjoyable experience, and I mean, it seems to me like they did their research, and just the ship at the end, they've definitely done a lot of research on those ships. I mean, ship experts can definitely tell that there are probably some issues with it, just like with the art stuff. I said that it's almost an exact copy of the Oseberg ship, except the head, because this had like kind of the classic dragon kind of head that you see illustrated on a lot of ships that are supposed to be from the Viking Age, but we only have kind of images of that as far as I know, like on some rune stones, but we don't actually have any ships with those types of heads, while the dragon head of the Oseberg ship actually looks more like a cinnamon bun. If you'd like to see more of these types of videos, then let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please make sure that you like it, hit that subscribe button, and push the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post something. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Bye! Hold that thought.